Any free trips to report?
I don't need to report them.
Trips from your rich friends?
I don't need to report them.
Any trips at all? You now do have to tell me. We've got new rules.
Some private flights from Texas and a luxury Adirondacks vacation.
And who paid?
A Texas billionaire.
Who?
My friend, Harlan Crow.
Oh.
One of the flights was because we overturned Roe and faced heightened security risks. So I flew private based on advice from my security.
Noted. Anything else to report or amend from past financial reports?
There were some mistakes and omissions.
Involving?
Bank accounts, a life insurance policy, the name of my wife's real estate company. Mistakes and omissions.
Speaking of.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining here for Freeform Fridays with Conversations with Taz. I promise y'all I'm going to be able to talk tonight. I am. It's going to be a little different than our normal Friday night. Why are my glasses sitting funny on my ear? There we go. Because I did miss last night. Sorry about that. I forgot that I had already put the link up. So sorry for anybody that was waiting for me to show up. So sorry. Just being human got the best of me. But we are back in stride again. And we're going to do this. Now, because I didn't realize I ran out of paper earlier, I did order some paper. It was delivered a little while ago. We had to move to my handy dandy notebook that I keep in my backpack that travels around with me. So, oh, here's my pen. I'm still getting back in the swing of things. Okay, so the update for today, and if you missed the update that would have happened yesterday, I did put that on TikTok. They're being funny with the views over there right now. Let's get into it. Down in Fulton County, good old Fulton County. Today we had some people plead not guilty and waive their right to the arraignment hearing. And that would be Kenneth Cheeseborough, Scott Hall, Harrison Floyd, who is now released, Michael Roman, and Robert Shealy. Those that have previously waived arraignment are Jenna Ellis, Sidney Powell, Ray Smith, Trevion Cuddy, and Donald Trump. Just to clear that up, because I saw a lot of things going around where it seemed like only Donald Trump had waived the arraignment and put in his plea. No. And some people were under the false assumption that, money talks, BS walks. Normally that is the case. But with Fani Willis, she is following the letter of the law. And so is Judge McCarthy down in Fulton County. And just a reminder, Judge McCarthy is the judge that was just seated in January of this year. So, of course, he's following it to a T. He doesn't want his first major case to have, any stumbling blocks. And keep in mind, the arraignment hearing is set for next Wednesday, September 6th. And those that are remaining to enter their plea are Rudy Giuliani, John Eastman, Mark Meadows, Jeffrey Clark, Sean Steele, David Schaefer, Stephen Lee, Kathy Latham, and Misty Hampton. That's a lot of them. Now, one thing that I have noticed, because there are a lot of briefs coming out regarding all the Trump cases. I believe that there are 2 left that I haven't read, but we know I take Saturday to get caught up. So I'll be able to catch you all up on that. But consistently, what I'm seeing, and keep in mind, what I'm reading is what's made public. If there are any extra pages or anything that has been redacted, of course, I'm not an attorney on the team. I'm not a co-conspirator, just whatever's available publicly. Everybody is blaming basically fear of Trump for their involvement. This is like overwhelming with everybody who's, had briefings filed thus far. Now, remember the Mark Meadows hearing, because he's trying to get not only his case severed from everyone else, but he wants it moved to federal court. And he was on the stand for several hours because he's basically saying his job as chief of staff is why he's in this predicament, and it should be moved to federal court. And once it gets to federal court, he should be granted immunity. And remember, Fonnie Willis was like, no, 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 no. Remember the Hatch Act. You had this position. You knew what was legal and wasn't legal, and you used your political position as political influence, which violated the Hatch Act. So let's get into how he screwed himself over during his hearing. Now, yesterday, there were 2 briefings filed. And the one that was the most interesting was the briefing filed in response to Mark Meadows' defense briefing coming from DA Fonnie Willis. It alleges that Meadows falsely claimed that he had no role in the fake electors scandal. But here's the thing, y'all. This is getting juicy. This is better than a soap opera. Okay? On the stand during redirect, which means his attorneys were asking him questions. Let me be clear on this. His attorneys were asking him questions when the following came out under oath in court. He acknowledged under oath that he had given direction to a campaign official in regards to the fake electors. That campaign official was Jason Miller. How did he communicate this with Jason Miller? Well, remember Hillary and her emails? These emails are going to tank them all. He sent an email to Jason Miller, a campaign official. And you want to know why he said that he was putting together this second set of electors? I wish I was making this up. But it's in the transcripts. For the purpose of possible future litigation, a second set of electors would be needed. That's his defense. And his other crucial mistake while on the stand and testifying, this is a former chief of staff. You got to have some smarticle particles working in order to get this position, okay? This isn't one of those, oh, anybody could do it type of things. His claim is that he was working on behalf of the campaign in Georgia. Political campaigns are not federal. They're state by state. Even when you're running for president, you have different staffers per state. So this is not on the federal level. This is on the state level. So he just proved that, as he's trying to say, the charges against him are outside of the purview of Fonnie Willis. He just proved that it's within the purview of Fonnie Willis. But what do we always say here? There's more. Now, he was not working on the campaign in the capacity of chief of staff, because that generally goes to a staffer. Chiefs of staff do not work on campaigns. And the kicker for all of this, remember, the only other witnesses to testify other than Meadows that were subpoenaed by the district attorney. The Meadows team subpoenaed no one. And you want to know why that's significant? He was Trump's chief of staff. He didn't subpoena any former chiefs of staff. He's claiming this needs to go to federal court because of his position, but he brought no one in to say, yes, what he's describing fits in our job description as chief of staff. Because trust and believe, if somebody hauled me into court and I'm following my job description to a T, I'm calling up other people within my industry, within my position, to go, hey, can you explain this is normal for us to do? But no. Everyone I've ever known that's worked on campaigns, I worked on locally. The Obama campaign, the first one for president. Yeah, chief of staff ain't there. Chief of staff is not there. You have like, it's like an umbrella of staffers. And why? That would be like you clawing your way to the top of the corporate ladder and becoming the CFO, the CEO, or the COO. And then you being at every booth promoting your company at every county fair across the United States. For why? For why? You know what? That's absolutely what it is. And here's the thing. I was thinking about this earlier. I was thinking about this earlier. Y'all go with me with this train of thought and tell me if I'm completely off basis, okay? In a lot of professions, you mostly come into contact with people who are not a part of your profession. Think of like a contractor or a mechanic where people always complain about them trying to get over on people and manipulate them and pad the invoices, because if you were a mechanic, you wouldn't be taking your car to a mechanic. If you were a contractor, you may not hire another contractor. It's very rare that you come in contact with somebody who is directly involved in your profession. When it comes to attorneys and anybody in the legal field, every day of your job, you're surrounded by people who do your job. What's getting me about all of the co-conspirators, all of the co-defendants throughout all of these Trump trials are all trying to go into court and lie to people who had to go through the same level of education as them. I'm excluding Trump from this because we know he's going to try any and everybody. He goes into halls of filled to the brim with politicians and with a lot of politicians. He will go into a hospital and try to out-doctor a doctor. But I'm like, it baffles my mind. You have to be a special kind of narcissist or just insane to go into a space brimming with people with the same base knowledge of you and try to convince them that all of their years of education and experience is wrong and the bullshit you're saying is right. Because let me tell you, I don't have the biggest ego. Shocker, I know. I give that impression, but I don't. But I get irritated in the handful of times someone's tried that with me, but they usually try it with me before they know my background. Like we had to have a tech come out here because they didn't properly change our modem when they made changes to the type of internet service that is now currently available in my area. And I have to have business grade in the house because I work from the house. And the guy's sitting there talking. Well, did you do this? You know, you could do this. My level of irritation got up to here. Small caveat, making the service call, I explained everything that I had previously done. It was typed into the system. I got an email confirming it. When he came in, he knew because he read off to me what I had previously done, then turned around and told me next time to do the things that I told him I already did. So after a few minutes, did I flex on him? Hell yeah. And they go, oh, well, you could have saved me some time. You could have saved me some time. I didn't even want to sit in here in the room with you. You kept calling me. But couldn't be me. Couldn't be me. Now, the upcoming trial that everybody seems to be forgetting about, but is now starting to get more attention and become more conversational. We originally broke it down a couple of months ago, and then there really wasn't anything public to discuss. So that's why I wasn't discussing it normally, because there really wasn't anything to update you all about. And that's AG Miss Letitia James up in New York. The trial date is set for October 2nd. Yeah, he got a lot going on in October. These Black women are like, boo-boo, go cut a switch. Quickly, go cut that switch. We're going to tap that ass during spooky season. And I am here for it. Okay? Are we coordinating costumes for these trials? Are we? I'm down for that. So the lawsuit includes Trump, the Trump family, the members of the family that were members of the board. So his eldest children, because they just keep blanketly saying the Trump family. And I'm seeing some people online because the only other person in the Trump family outside of his children that anybody knows of is his niece, Mary Trump. And no, she is not involved in this, has never been involved in any business dealings with him. She can't stand him. She can't stand him. So if you see anybody saying any of that, you can debunk that immediately. Her name is nowhere in any of the filings anywhere. And y'all see all the notes I take. I ain't no way I missed that. And the Trump organization. And remember, his CFO just got out of prison not too long ago and previously testified to the grand jury and gave evidence to Attorney General James regarding this because they was cooking the books, honey. Now, the lawsuit is seeking a payment of a fine of $250 million. He about to be broke, okay? I mean, not rich people broke. He about to be us broke, okay? Us broke. And I'm not talking about that old school boomer broke, where they'll be like, baby, I can't help you out, I'm broke, but I'll have a smooth $500 in their wallet. When I say us, I'm talking about us below the boomers, us. We got to, ladies, you know how it is. You got to get that person shaking, see if maybe you accidentally spilled a little change at the bottom. You start checking the washer and dryer, seeing if something done fell out in there. Especially after TikTok taught us how to check underneath the little lint trap. Y'all know, he about to be check the couch cushion broke. You should have gotten out of, and the rest of them, an attorney Trump, because you're going to need their couch. Especially if the scuttlebutt is true about Melania. Because, baby, you ain't even going to have a shirt. So the claim is that assets of the company were inflated by $2.2 billion. Now, come on. Trump, President Trump. You should have done like the NBA does. Okay, we all know that at the beginning of the game, when they're calling out the starting lineup, we know ain't nan one of them men the height that the NBA announcers call them out at. Okay, they smudge it a little bit. They get them between 1 to 3 inches on their height. Men on dating profiles get themselves a couple inches on their height. That's how much you padded. You thought wasn't nobody gonna notice $2.2 billion not being there, like it never existed? Even when Enron went crashing down, they padded the books better than that. They made it look believable. You tried to pull an Anna Delvey, my boy. What a whole company that you keep talking about, that you keep smacking the name on it. If you gonna inflate stuff, $2.2 billion more than what it's worth, you can't let everybody know that you connected to it. Let's keep going. Now, what's brought this case into the news recently is this. It's because Attorney General Letitia James is requesting a summary judgment, which means we don't need no trial. On the second, judge look at this evidence and make a ruling. We don't need no witnesses. We don't need anything. And why is she requesting this? Why does she put forth a motion to this? It's due to, and I quote directly from the paperwork, the mountain of undisputed evidence cited in the plaintiffs. Everybody is accidentally telling on themselves in all these cases. Due to, like I said in quote, the mountain of undisputed evidence cited in the plaintiff's accompanying 202.8-G statement. How full of yourself do you have to be to file official paperwork with a court that shows you're guilty? That's like you hacking into your teacher's grading software and just giving yourself an F. So we got Mark Meadows, who told on himself. Trump's defense team just told on him. I mean, I think Trump's defense team, his attorneys don't like him just as much as DeSantis's campaign team don't like him. But that ain't all that's making it to the news. Now remember, Jared Kushner, the husband of Ivanka Trump, the reason why Ivanka converted to Judaism, even though Trump was saying all this anti-Semitic stuff, he forgot that his faux Christian daughter became Jewish. Jared Kushner officially worked for the White House. He was assigned, I forgot to write it down, but I can't remember the exact position that he had. But basically, he was put in charge of affairs in the Middle East. So the Democrats of the Oversight Committee, being led by Raskin, and we love Raskin around here. Okay, and we're very, very happy that he got to ring the bell because he beat cancer. Round of applause, round of applause. So now he can get back to fighting the good fight. He does earn his check with a little bonus, little teeny bonus. Okay. They're calling for a subpoena of Jared Kushner because of the Saudi funding that he received. He received $2 billion plus. People keep saying just $2 billion. It's a little bit more than $2 billion in investment funds from a Saudi crown prince. Now you might go, but Taz, I heard there were some other politicians that got money. Yeah, that had standalone businesses that had a far greater success rate than Jared Kushner did at the time. It would be like you meeting someone and they're 2 months into the real estate game and you get an inheritance from Meemaw because you didn't realize she had a savings account that she ain't touched since 1921, and you can go get your dream house. Are you going to trust the real estate agent with 2 months of experience? Or the real estate agent down the block with 25 years of experience and is known for getting people what they want, what they need below cost? Yeah, so his obtaining that amount of funding did not equate to his success record. He also had, keep in mind, they was losing their minds. Hillary's emails, lock her up because of the emails. Oh, it's unsecure. Guess how Jared Kushner was communicating with top officials and royalty in the Middle East? WhatsApp. He was using WhatsApp. Now it's a win for us with this committee because those records can be subpoenaed. And because it's an official app, yeah, that storage is chef's kiss. WhatsApp. They used what? You're working in the White House. And go figure, they were so concerned about Obama not wanting to give up his personal BlackBerry so that he could stay in communication with his daughters. Y'all. I can't make this stuff up. Lord Jesus, have mercy. And you would think, and it's all of the people that were the most boisterous about her emails. Everything. I have a member of my family that always wants to talk shit about me and lie about the shit that they talk. and everything else. But they only communicate to me and about me in text or email. This is reminded, like, now the rest of us, there might be an occasional text, a phone call, it's a combination. So when somebody like gets a screenshot and tries to piece it out, you got to ask the question, like, okay, what's missing? Obviously something is missing. Or somebody cropped it down to try to make it look incriminating. They don't have to crop anything. They don't have to put anything, piece anything together. These people are using emails and WhatsApp as if they're hearing impaired and it's 1992. Like, they might as well have just broke out the two-way pagers. Which, quite honestly, now that technically they've combined the two-way page with the cell phone, I'm so happy, because I was tired of carrying around both of those. Because when you're hard of hearing, the two-way pagers came in clutch. Oh. You yeah, you but real quick, let's get caught up on DeSantis. Y'all know how we do. I'll see you in 2 and 2, and we'll talk about it on the other side.
This picture of DeSantis looking down while he asks Daddy Brandon for hurricane relief is it's kind of cringe. Like, we were just talking about how DeSantis pulled this PR stunt last week. Not to mention the dude has a $250 million war chest getting ready to run for president. But now all of a sudden when there's a natural disaster, it's like, oh, socialism works. But the most cringe part about this punchable face is not the fact that he is asking the President of the United States for hurricane relief funds after shitting on him for the last 6 months of his presidency. That is not the cringe part. The cringe part is that he had voted against hurricane relief funds for another state when they were a fraction of what he's asking for. Like, the irony of everyone important to conservative politics in Florida voted against a $9.7 billion package for Hurricane Sandy is now asking for 65. And that's not even the most cringe vote. This child trafficker who just happens to be Florida's congressman also is voting against existing Ian relief funds. Like, holy shit, man, it's your own state, and you wanna know what his logic was? He didn't want to give Biden a win before the 2024 election. Like, I don't claim to be totally based. I would love to start shitting on some Democratic politicians for some insider trading fuck shit, but I can't. Because the hypocrisy on the conservative side is so much more cringe that I never effing run out of content. Like when you tell us that mass school shootings aren't about the guns, it's about mental health, and then all of you unanimously vote no on mental health services in schools.
Whether your state is red, blue, or purple, see who your representative is. If you have a Republican representative, start bombarding their offices with snail mail letters and emails, because the vast majority of them keep doing it. And I've noticed a pattern. New medication. Can't really sleep, if y'all haven't figured that out. They will vote down relief for someone else, and then a natural disaster or disaster will happen in their district. I'm not kidding. Check for yourself. I went down the rabbit hole one night because I couldn't sleep. And generally speaking, at like 3 o'clock in the morning, there's only one person awake. And by that time, she's already gotten pretty elevated. But yes, like seriously. And also, DeSantis in certain areas, they have pulled staffers and campaign funds, even though there's claims in the media today that DeSantis is beginning to close the gap between him and Trump. I could not consistently confirm that. Most of the polls that were saying that, when you look at the amount of people polled, it was very, very small and very heavily, they were coming out to DeSantis events. They've already made up their mind. Now, Trump and Biden are pretty close in the polling, but keep in mind, I don't really talk about polls all that much because usually the polls are 1,000 people were polled, 2,000 people were polled, and we have more than millions of people here. So, there's that. Now let's get to Alabama and voter suppression. Oh, quick caveat on DeSantis. Who's going to build back? You legislated the people who generally handle your construction and everything else. Who's going to build it back? And these people don't have insurance policies anymore. Let's go to Alabama and voter suppression.
I do not know how more people are not talking about this crazy shit out of Alabama. Okay, I had a coworker send this to me. You know who you are. Thank you. Look at this. Supreme Court rules Alabama's congressional maps violate Voting Rights Act. I can explain, but just watch this.
Turn now to the Supreme Court and the surprise decision on voting rights, finding that Alabama's congressional maps are unfair to black voters. Our senior national correspondent Terry Moran is at the Supreme Court this morning. Good morning, Terry.
Good morning, Juju. This was a stunning civil rights victory at the conservative-dominated Supreme Court. Chief Justice John Roberts and conservative Justice Brett Kavanaugh siding with the liberals in a congressional redistricting case that many had feared would end up weakening the Voting Rights Act. Instead, in a 5-4 opinion, the court decided that a congressional redistricting map drawn by the Republican-led Alabama state legislature violated the Voting Rights Act because it drew only one district out of 7 where a majority of voters were black, when 1 in 4 or more Alabamians are black. Under this legislature's map, the court found many black voters were packed into one district, many others cracked or splintered into other districts, diluting their influence in elections. And the Chief Justice, in his opinion for the court, writing that the Voting Rights Act does not permit a state to provide some voters less opportunity to participate in the political process. In a fierce dissent, Justice Clarence Thomas said that the approach that Roberts and the liberals took amounted to the proportional allocation of political power on the basis of race. But Roberts said court's just following the law, the Voting Rights Act. And this decision is just going to have a huge political impact, not just in Alabama, but right across the country. It could tip the balance of power in the House of Representatives after the next election. Guys?
Let's start with the positive. This is a huge win for democracy, like huge win, that a conservative voted yes on this, especially with the division in the country right now. But it's because black votes have been suppressed in the state of Alabama because the Republican government decided to break a section of an act of law to suppress black votes. I am at a loss for words for the first time in a long time. This is unbelievable. Okay, they're back. If you need more proof that Clarence Thomas was bought and paid for, here it is. Okay?
And Clarence had to say what he said, and he had to do what he did because, and he's right, it's going to change nationally because this case is going to make everybody else look and go, they remembered they can sue us. They remember they can make us abide by the law, and we can't just outright gerrymander them anymore. And what does that do? It depletes Harlan Crow and other GOP mega donors' reach. If you don't have the numbers, it doesn't matter how much you lobby them. And voter suppression is a two-pronged thing. Yes, it does literally prevent the physical proper voting, so people are properly represented. But it also furthers the conspiracy theory that Black votes don't count, that Black votes don't matter. So it decreases the amount of Black people that are going to register to vote anyway, that are going to make an effort to vote anyway. So for them, it's a win-win. Now, with all of this going on, with election fraud and indictments coming down, a lot of people are wondering, hey, did everybody forget about Roger Stone? Why isn't he brought up on stuff? Don't worry. Don't worry. Don't worry. I got you.
It was Trump's last day in office. There would be no second pardon for Roger Stone. This was our last day of filming.
Roger, whatever happened to that other documentary crew?
Huh?
Whatever happened to that other documentary crew?
They fell apart. They just lost interest. I think their goal was for me to be convicted and go to prison, in all seriousness. So they never thought I would be commuted, and they never thought I would be pardoned. And as soon as I was commuted, they lost interest. They thought the story was, quote unquote, over. I kept saying the story's just beginning. Now, I mean, it became clear what their agenda was. So, good riddance.
What was the agenda?
Huh?
What was their agenda?
To do a hit job on Roger Stone. I'm sorry, I had people talking in my ear. Start it again. Yeah, how can they do that? Right. Well, you don't understand people I do. Rod should hold a press conference today and call for Trump's impeachment. That's what I would do. That's what I would do. I'm going to do it. I'm supporting impeachment. I'm supporting impeachment. He must be removed. His son Jared must be prosecuted. I want to know how money changed hands on Bannon. I want a federal investigation. I'm filing a complaint with the FBI this afternoon. Fuck these people. Fuck these people. Right. So, right, exactly. Which is why I'm for the impeachment. I want impeachment. I'm gonna work very hard for it. I'm not kidding. He betrayed Bernie, betrayed Rudy, betrayed everybody. So he has to go. He has to go. Run again. You'll get your fucking brains beat in. Right, which is good, unfortunately, for Pat, because he's easy to find. Fuck these people. Let's be very clear. There is no Vadin, cocksucker. It's one sentence. So if you're in a meeting and he says that, you punch him in the mouth as hard as you can to make your point. It's one sentence. We're not stupid. There is no paperwork, you cocksucker. He needs to be impeached. He needs to be denounced and impeached. The greatest single mistake in American history. Greatest single mistake. He's surrounded by morons, and he surrounded himself by morons. And a good long sentence in prison, he'll give him a chance to think about it. Because the Southern District's coming for him, and he did nothing. You want to fight? Let's fight. Fuck you. Fuck you and your abortionist bitch daughter.
Like myself, a lot of us have been asking, with all of these indictments that have come down, why hasn't Roger Stone been charged with anything yet? Why hasn't he been indicted for anything yet? To give you some background, because he's neck deep in the fake elector stuff, and I'll talk about in a second in the January 6th stuff as well. Roger Stone has known Donald Trump for more than 40 years. He's very famous for, in the top center of his back, having a tattoo of the face of Richard Nixon. In the late 70s and through the 80s, Roger Stone was partners in a lobbying firm in Washington, D.C. that had a reputation for lobbying the United States government on behalf of some of the other worst governments in the world. Dictators, despots, all of that stuff. His two partners in that firm were Paul Manafort, who went on to become Donald Trump's campaign manager and was convicted of multiple felonies before he was pardoned by Donald Trump. Their other partner was a guy named Lee Atwater, who was a Republican operative and was instrumental in George H.W. Bush's presidential campaign in the late 80s. And he was famous for coming up with and running the Willie Horton ad against Michael Dukakis. Roger Stone was convicted of felonies during the Mueller probe, and he was pardoned by Donald Trump. And he gained a lot of notoriety in the year 2000 as part of George W. Bush's campaign, an unofficial part, because he coordinated what became known as the Brooks Brothers riot in Florida, when all these white guys in suits demanded that the votes stopped being counted so that George W. Bush would win the state of Florida. There's a new documentary out about him called A Storm Foretold. I've seen clips of it on TikTok. I haven't seen it yet. I don't know where it's streaming. But he's very clearly in that documentary pushing the fake elector scheme within a couple of days before Election Day, before the votes had even stopped being counted, before Joe Biden had even been declared the winner. There's another documentary on Netflix about him called Get Me Roger Stone. In the first documentary, he's heard very clearly, shortly after Election Day, acknowledging that Donald Trump lost the election, that it wasn't stolen. He was never officially a part of Trump's campaign, either one of his campaigns. He never had a job in the White House. Now, in Washington, D.C., in the days leading up to January 6th, there was a war room of a lot of these folks working out of a conference room in the Willard Hotel, which is right across the street from the White House. That war room included people like Steve Bannon, Bernie Kerik, Rudy Giuliani, Sidney Powell, General Michael Flynn, and Roger Stone. And we still know very little about what was going on in that room during those days. But they were plotting and scheming to keep Donald Trump in power beyond Inauguration Day, 2021. And so Stone was in D.C. for a week or two before January 6th. He was also in D.C. on December 11th when there was a first Stop the Steal rally, and which quickly became violent. And a bunch of Proud Boys ended up just roaming the streets, beating the shit out of people. He was in D.C. for that one as well. During the January 6th committee hearings, Cassidy Hutchins, who was assistant to White House Chief of Staff Mark Meadows, testified that on January 5th, the day before the insurrection at the Capitol, Donald Trump instructed Mark Meadows to call Roger Stone in the war room at the Willard Hotel. Mark Meadows originally was going to go over there in person, but he was busy. So he called Roger Stone, and then after that, he also, at Trump's instruction, placed a call to General Michael Flynn. With all of that smoke around Roger Stone, as I said at the beginning, it's been kind of stunning to me that of all the people who have been criminally indicted in these cases, that Roger Stone hasn't been one of them. And I think a lot of us share that feeling. All I can say is that Jack Smith is not done, and there's always hope. So keep your fingers crossed.
I think people are forgetting or not knowing the disdain that Roger Stone now has for Trump. In the first clip, you hear him legitimately deciding to wage war on Trump. Trump is what Trump wanted to be what Roger Stone is. Trump bit the hand that was feeding him. I think that Roger Stone is avoiding prosecution because Roger Stone is sinking like a canary. This is just my assessment, because for 2 docuseries to come out during this time centering Roger Stone, I don't think Roger Stone wants another conviction. He does not have a connection into the White House to get him another pardon. He does not have, he's out of get out of jail free cards. And Trump has pissed him off. What Roger Stone has the ability to do is what Trump was trying to give people in his inner circles the impression that he had the power to do. But the question is, with flipping on Trump, will Roger Stone completely get off scot-free, or will there just be some reductions? You are so super fat. Here. Jesus. Welcome to election season for POTUS 2024. Now, I showed you all where a constituent put Tim Scott in his place because he wouldn't speak out and denounce Trump and admit that Trump is a criminal and facing criminal charges. And the constituent was like, why would I vote for you? I have no confidence in you. How would you stand up to world leaders? Well, looks like the donors got some questions for Tim Scott also.
Senator Tim Scott is fucking around and finding out. Top Republican donors are pushing him and his team to find out more details about his bachelor status before deciding how much money they're going to support his presidential campaign with. Now, many of these donors are in the market looking for an alternative to Trump because they're still not sure about Governor Ron DeSantis, who's clearly the second place runner right now. Now, Scott is trying to bag those donors, but they clearly have an issue with him and why he's not married. They want to know the details. Now, to normal people, it really doesn't matter, right? If you're the best candidate, have the best policies, then you should win, right? Now, Scott suggested he's all of a sudden surprised by how regressive Republicans are being, adding, it sounds like we're living in 1963 and not 2023. Fucking welcome to the world. But Tim Scott's hesitancy to say much about his private life has raised concerns among the most conservative Republican donors, which begs the question, do y'all just think he's gay? If so, just say that then. Because, ooh, supporting a black man is bad, but supporting a gay black man, shiver me timbers.
Yeah, and Tim Scott is doing too much to draw attention to the fact that not only is he not married, no one's seen him publicly date anyone. And at no point am I saying this is correct, but we've seen too much in U.S. history and pop culture and politics when you don't see someone at least once or twice out on a date, bring somebody to an event, they tend to be in the closet and gay. And when Tim Scott announced, he made a big deal of I'm a virgin, I'm so pure, because he believed that that would lean him in to the pseudo tyrannical Christian conservative base. But Tim Scott forgot one thing: the patriarchy, especially how the patriarchy is married to tyrannical pseudo Christianity. There are men who will just marry a woman, date her for a couple of months. Oh yeah, I'm in love, because they want to be promoted into the executive level of their company. And historically speaking, the last time, there was one very infamous time we did have a bachelor in office. He didn't stay bachelor very long, but the controversy came out because of who he married. He married the daughter of his bestie after his bestie died. Yeah, a woman that he had known since birth. So, I don't think the GOP, I mean, we know there are some underlings that like to do that, but they don't want that in the presidency. So, yeah. And the sentencing that just came down for many of the Proud Boys, for many of the Oath Keepers, let's not forget, this is not the end of their woes. There's still, remember I told y'all about it the other day, a case that's in appellate court that's already, the lower court already ruled against them. And they were held liable for January 6th. And we know how lawsuits are like spinoffs to TV shows. There's always going to be at least one. Now, also, I want you all to pay attention to this next video and really let what's being said in this video sink in, because it'll give you a better understanding why so many people have extremely displaced anger and why they're backing the people they claim that we're all supposed to hate.
Ever since I was old enough to start learning history, I used to always wonder to myself how some of the most horrific things happened. Like during the Civil War, how did a bunch of rich landowners convince a bunch of poor farmers to go lay down their lives so that they could continue to own people? Some people were literally going to war against their own families because they were convinced by some rich assholes that it was their patriotic duty. Fast forward to the 1930s, how did some loud, arrogant asshole convince the masses that they needed to commit mass genocide? I was truly baffled how many people could think that this is a good idea, or at least would go along with it. Fast forward to today, and I'm still baffled as I'm seeing it happen before my very own eyes.
If Donald Trump were to be found guilty by a jury, where do you see this going?
Civil War. Civil War. How a bunch of poor and working class people could be pushing for a civil war because they are convinced that some rich asshole has their best interests at heart. So in return, they want to help him get richer and not face any accountability for crimes that they know that happened. The thing is, in all of these cases, all of these leaders use the exact same tactics to make their people fall in line.
It was the Republicans versus the Democrats. And then it changed into something totally different. It became conservatives against liberals. Now we've gone beyond that. And I'm convinced today it's patriots versus the traitors.
These leaders find people who have low self-esteem. They give them a sense of purpose. They dehumanize people that they say are on the other side.
This is the final battle. They know it. I know it. You know it. Everybody knows it. This is it. Either they win or we win. And if they win, we no longer have a country. Our enemies are lunatics and maniacs.
They use inflammatory language like, if you're not with us, you are against us, and we need to rise up and take our country back.
Do you want us to be in civil war? Because that's what's going to happen. We're not going to keep putting up with this. And Eric, I like that you suggested that we need to get angry. We do need to rise up and take our country back.
They use a series of false phrases over and over again. So even if people know that that's a lie, it'll start to feel like it's true over time. These leaders act like they have all the answers and the other side's trying to lead them astray and give away all of their birthright to something else or someone else. They demonize science, they demonize the press, they demonize history books because they alone have all the answers.
I alone can fix it.
The scariest aspect of this is that in none of these situations did the masses ever just wake up from this delusion and decide this wasn't for them. It always turned into a war where there were devastating losses on both sides. Not the rich people in charge though, no, they were fine. It was all the working class and poor people that they convinced were fighting for a great cause. All these rich people just sat back and watched all these people die to further their cause. What could make you feel more powerful than that?
If you fuck around with us, if you do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
Are we headed into another civil war or world war? Trump supporters really seem to think so and seem to really want it to happen.
As soon as Republicans take back Trump's America, cold, woke hands.
My question is there a way to stop it this time?
Do you think we're moving towards civil war?
I don't know. I don't know, because I don't know what it, I can say this. There's a level of passion that I've never seen. There's a level of hatred that I've never seen, and that's probably a bad combination.
Let me add this caveat. This is why they break everything down to political parties. This is why they want to politicize everything. This is why they'll immediately go, "Oh, you're a libtard. We got to own the libtards. You're Democrats. This Democrat." They take it away from you're their neighbor. You're in the same neighborhood, therefore in the same financial situation as them. You're their coworker. You're under the same constraints as them. They break it down to politics and political parties. And then patriotism, and patriotism within the United States basically boils down whether or not you're willing to risk your life for the country. They make it this big fantasy. So it's easier for them to separate themselves from who they should be fighting alongside with and start fighting for the ones that are actually keeping them from getting ahead. They're sold the fantasy that if they just work 1,000 hours a week, they'll be a millionaire and be at the table with them. No. And the biggest trap that nobody is really told or explained is the stronghold wealth has on people. They just continue to hoard it. They very rarely enjoy it. They'll just keep working for it. Because think about it. When have you truly seen a fully retired millionaire billionaire? Beyonce is a billionaire. Beyonce popped out some twins a couple years ago. She got in, started writing, started getting in the gym for this tour. Why? Her nor Jay-Z ever have to work again. Oprah keeps popping up with book clubs, new magazines that she only puts herself on the cover of. And all of these things. Why? And now her and The Rock created a foundation to help Maui. Oprah, I am old enough and I recall that you purchased an entire island. If you have enough money to purchase an entire island, you don't need to start a foundation or a fundraiser. You don't need a mutual aid Monday. You could have just dropped the check and still been wealthy. Their entire families that are neurotic regarding their fear of ever becoming poor, and their idea of poor would be far more than comfortable for everyone else. You go from believing that you are one with billionaires because you're sold the fantasy that one day all this hard work, as if you don't have bills to pay, as if you don't have day-to-day financial occurrences that pop up, that one day that money will just drop in your bank account and you'll be equal to them, to now going to the next level of monetary possession, to you still keeping up this ungodly, unholy, unhealthy work ethic and schedule, because now it's a competition of being ranked higher on a list than people you don't even break bread with. There have been millionaires and billionaires that have sat down and said that they wouldn't even loan money to family members. They want to turn into the banks that they don't even use for real. And see, when people say more money, more problems, People are so quick to go, oh, but I would love those problems. You really wouldn't. Because it's really no money, no problems. We moved into a societal standard that everything except for breathing, well, nope, because some people need oxygen tanks. My apologies. I retract my previous statement. We moved into a society where everything cost. Society created money, and society went along with somebody going, "Ooh, I like this stream. Let me charge people to drink the water out of it. Nope, let's make it illegal. Don't come over here and collect water from the stream and drink it. Don't collect no rainwater either. Let me start charging people for this land over here. Well, how did you get it? Did you buy it? No, I just declared it mine and now I want to charge people for it." I want to tell people that it's lowbrow to cultivate your own food. So I can low pay smaller farmers, overpay larger farmers, and triple that up and put it in a grocery store. That's what I'm going to do. That's because when we had the barter system, there wasn't any of this. The goal was to be a good person, not to have a big fancy house that you're going to spend all of your time cleaning or paying somebody to clean. Because if you have a house with 30 some odd bedrooms, by the time you get done cleaning the last bedroom, you have to immediately start back over. Because that first bedroom is going to be dusty. It's going to be used. It's a continuous cycle. You have 16 luxury vehicles. Think about all these wealthy people that have all these amazing jewels that sit in safety deposit boxes. It's no different than, and I'm sure everybody has met someone like this in their life. You may have had a relative that was like that had one room completely decorated, furniture and everything, rugs, maybe a china hutch or something, but no one could sit in there. No one could sit on the furniture. Nobody. For what? Or you go to somebody's house and they're like, oh, don't use the towels that are hanging up. For what? To impress someone else? And that's something I've never understood. Your life should be comfortable for you, not to outdo someone else. But that's how they set it up, so that they can sit back and be comfortable. They're so uncomfortable and so not full of life that they do dumb shit like get themselves imploded in the ocean. They lie to doctors about their kids having ADHD so they can get Adderall so they can get a buzz. They become riddled with Munchausen by proxy so that they can get attention outside of their money. And all these people who come into money or finally earn some money, oh, they want to be mean to people like, well, I want to make sure they're not here for my money, but make everything about themselves their money. All right, we're done. Okay, calm down. Well, thank you all for joining me for Freeform Fridays on Conversations with Taz. Puppers has decided we're done for the night. As always, check out the links in the description, the bio. I just realized I do need to change the direct link to the new TikTok page on this account. I'll do that as soon as we close. And as always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Would you stop so I can end the broadcast? Okay, that was my back, dude. Jesus.